Wembley?
I think it's like
And we're back, people. Deluded, I'm back again. Me and this brother right here have been trying to get this done for a whole minute. Finally got it done. Luke, what you saying, my boy? You good?
Quit telling me, bro. Thank you for having me on, man. I appreciate it.
No, it's a pleasure having you here, man. I see, you're doing great stuff with TalkSport. You're on Sky Sports. You're always frontlining for the cause, whether we're in the right or wrong. So it makes sense to have a real Arsenal man here. So with that, yeah, obviously you're pressed for time. I'm gonna ask some general questions, but I want to kind of test the temperature. Like, how are you feeling broadly about Arsenal? Like, all things considered, now we're going into Christmas top. There's been a lot of football. The last 2 weeks, a lot of things have been said. How are you feeling about the club generally?
Bro, I feel really good. I feel really good. I'm always positive, but I think you can't fake a feeling. You can't fake emotion. And I think
Facts.
I always have to go back to 6 years ago, man. And we've got you got the top on, and you know what Arsenal means. But I didn't know what Arsenal was going to be 6 years down the line. I was worried. I was very concerned because I think I remember rightly we were 8 points off top four, and we were 7 points above the relegation zone. We were firmly a mid-table outfit.
We're in the abyss.
And at that moment in time, you didn't know where to look. And, you could beat Arsenal by name, but you have to beat Arsenal by stature and how you carry yourself. And what Arteta's done in the last 6 years is made us believe again. It's made us dream again. And it's made us compete. And yeah, we talk about winning trophies. And I know that we want to win. We want to be the kings of everything, in his words. But fine margins along the way. And I know people like to ridicule things of what Arteta said, but it is about timing. When you've been so consistent for the last 3 seasons and you haven't got over the line for whatever reason, it's how you use that. We can cry about it, we can use it as an excuse, or it can fuel the fire even more and it can make you hungrier. But right now, when I look at the manager, I look at the players, I look at the connection with the fan base, because that's so important. I look at other clubs trying to strive for that. They really want that authenticity. They want that connection. But it takes time, bro. These things take time. Nothing in football is a quick fix. It's a very hypocritical world. A manager comes in, 5 minutes later, they don't want him because they think it's going to be a quick fix. It isn't. It wasn't a quick fix under Arteta, but we're enjoying it. And match-going fans, week in, week out, you want to see your team win games. Yes, trophies are beautiful, but think about it when we won FA Cups. I got told they were papering over the cracks. Yeah, they were great days out, but okay, let's kick on. And what we've done for the last 3 years is kicked on in the right way, but now we need the trophies to sort of say it was all worth it. Because I don't want this team to be like the 2007 and 8 team. I don't want this team to be like the...
Don't want to be nearly men your whole life, essentially.
But I don't want these teams to be forgotten about. And I don't think the players deserve to be forgotten about. I want the Declan Rices, I want Bukayo Sakas, I want the Odegaards, I want the Gabriels, I want the Salibas. I want them to be remembered. I want them to go to the Emirates and see their pictures on the wall and their quote when they lift the Premier League or the quote when they lift the Champions League, because I think they deserve it. But it's up to them.
You're right. It's up to them. It's up to the manager. Obviously, there's a lot of football being said. And, when it's all being said, we're top of the champs. We're top of the Prem. We're still in both competitions. We're playing tomorrow. How confident are you, that we'll claim one of, if not all of it, because we'd all love all of them, but how confident are you of us claiming silverware? Because we got 4 opportunities. And I ask you that because to say this is obviously we want the Prems, we want the champs, if not both. The FA Cup will have it, the League Cup will have it. Obviously, the FA Cup and the League Cup in isolation, I don't feel that stops the noise. Even though if you go back last season, a lot of people were saying a trophy is a trophy. It doesn't matter. You just need to win silverware. We all know the teams that were winning. So I don't think there will be a bit fair, in May of 2026. But where do you rate our trophy chances, essentially?
Yeah, I'd be very surprised if this is a season Arsenal don't win anything.
Trust me.
I think I will be surprised. But people might not like this, and I am going to say it. I think the League Cup is so fundamentally important. I think it really is.
I'm with you.
And the reason why I say that is because I think that is the springboard for future success. I'm talking this season. I can't understand how people are looking by it. 22nd of March, Arsenal could have a trophy in the bank. We've all said for so many years, if these players win a trophy, imagine what it can do for their confidence. All right. Fact. When people look at the League Cup, let me tell you now, when you get to the League Cup semi-final, you're not playing an easy game. You're playing a tough game because it's about the squad. It's about squad rotation. You look at
Got
Manchester
Chelsea
City,
if we beat
Palace,
obviously Crystal Palace, yeah, and
Newcastle
then
last
potentially
season.
Newcastle City, yeah.
Newcastle again last season. You know, they
Yeah,
deserve
exactly.
they beat us in the semi and then played Liverpool in the final. You know, so you're not looking at this thinking you're playing against championship teams or inferior teams. You're playing against teams. It's difficult to win this competition. And it's 3 weeks before we play Manchester City at the Etihad. You know, if we have to play them in a final, if you have to play Newcastle in a final,
That's a good point, you know.
It's there's little things. I go back to the FA Cup 4th round. You know, when we played them, we lost 1-0, and it was 2 weeks before we played them in the league. And then they beat us twice in 3 weeks. They had a psychological edge. But I think this is so vitally important. But with the squad we've got, we can rotate, but we can still have an excellent team that can go and beat Crystal Palace. And then we can take the Chelsea game on as it comes in between Portsmouth and Nottingham Forest. So I think it's fundamental, and I think we will win it. I think we will win a competition. I've been very consistent in my thought. I think we'll win the Prem. I think I've said that ever since the Newcastle game, because it's the feeling. And I was there at St James's Park, and something that struck me was the equaliser from Marino. And I thought we were brilliant in the first half. I've never seen Newcastle struggle that much off the ball. I thought the intensity and the way we played, it really took me back. But it was actually the mentality, funny enough. It
Came
was
from a goal down. It's easy to forget, which was a shambolic goal by our standards to concede, but we made it happen.
It was, but it was actually, it was like, okay, come out here with a point. And that was me. I was like, I know there's 10 minutes, but you don't want to be, go too gun-ho, because you might leave yourself, exposed in the back, and then you might lose the game. And if you remember, they got a little bit carried away, and Elanga had that shot, and another day it comes off Gabriel's arm. We talk about potential penalty. And don't forget, we made loads of changes to try and go for it. And I think we were a little bit under the caution in those 90 seconds after.
As you would be at St James's Park. Horrible ground to go to.
As you would be. But it was no, this isn't finished. We need to go and win this game. And I just noticed something then. And I thought, and I just from that moment, I went, yeah, they're going to win it. I said that just felt it. And I've been quite consistent all the way through. There was just a feeling there going, that felt like a big moment, and I still think it has been a massive moment this season. I think we'll win it. I just look at the squad we've got. I think it's incredible. I think it's absolutely incredible. The only thing I would say is that, and I said this morning on Sky, is football is a beautiful game, but it can be so brutal. And we have to be careful about how we play the game in front of us. And I looked at the game on Saturday against Everton. Now, Everton is a tough place to go, by all means. We haven't had the best record in there in recent seasons.
One winning 7 prior to obviously winning over the weekend.
But when you look at this Everton side, when you take out Dewsbury Hall, when you take out Njai, when you take out Garnegay, you're looking at a different Everton side. And I thought we had complete, total control. But when the scoreline is 1-0, you are never comfy. Never comfy. You're never comfy. And it was, my worry was like, if the ball goes in the box, we've seen the Saliba incident. It could have been a penalty on another day. I think
my heart fell out my mouth, man.
And then all of a sudden you're playing a football game that you don't need to play, because I think we're going to be playing a lot of football matches this season where both teams are going to be looking for a win. And I mean that with no disrespect to Everton. I think they just wanted to contain for as long as possible and maybe
probably
try
respected us a bit too much, which I'm not complaining.
But, when I look at the team and I look at the bench, those are the games where I think you can, without being rude, you can sort of relax and rest, conserve your minutes, go and play 2-3-0 up, and then you can keep the ball. And it's not a negative. It's just the way we chose to approach the game of being a 1-0 up. And we kept the ball moving. We kept the ball. Yes, in the second half, we were better. We had to hit the post twice and whatnot. But that was my only sort of, not concern, but we're going to have to fight for games. We're going to have to fight to win games. Some games like that, you're not going to have many games this season where a team is
Tempo suited us at Everton.
So we've got a good squad, and when I look at the players that are on the bench and the players that we've still got injured, I think it's formidable. The Champions League is interesting. Listen, I think, it's weird. For me, the Champions League is never really something I've taken, not seriously, it's the wrong word, but to hear Arsenal being associated with winning the Champions League.
Surreal. We've never done it.
When I was growing up, it was just, we were there in, make the numbers, we, get to the quarterfinals and what have you, but there was never really a divine belief that we could actually win the competition. And I think last year, beating Real Madrid, I know obviously the semi-final against PSG, but even then, in that first 25 minutes at their place, I thought we were pretty excellent. And if Odegaard, that goes in, it changes the
it's another game.
So it's another game. So listen, there's so many world-class players, man, in Europe. So you can never say with confidence, you're going to win the Champions League. But we can sit there and say we are one of the best defensive teams in Europe. And then you can look at some of the players we've got and the abundance of talent going forward. We are set up to be a very, very, very tough team to break down over 2 legs, which puts us in a great position to win the Champions League. But I think it's one game at a time, and the most important one is actually tomorrow. And for me, I'm one of those fans that I think it's so important tomorrow. I really, really do.
I think you're bang on, Luke. Like, I know obviously League Cup is not something necessarily people dream about, but I always flip it on its head and say, do you know, as a professional footballer, there's no God-given right. You actually play your whole career and win trophies. And not to be disingenuous to our club, I don't think we have a God-given right to throw silverware, whatever. Everything's been geared, rightly so, from Arteta and the boys, but everything's being geared towards winning. Now it's actually about winning. And you made a great point, especially about the whole Etihad City away. I want to take it very seriously. I want us to, we need to chase, we need to make up for lost causes, innit? I did want to ask you something though, because as you were speaking about the Prem and the Champs, I can kind of gauge that, you'd love to win both. The Prem is something that you think is probably a bit more tangible than the Champions League. But if I could offer you the Premier League, the Champions League, no context, on the 22nd of December, you got the Prem, you got the Champs, you gun to your head, you have to pick one. Which one are you going with?
You see, for me, easy. For me, it's the Prem. For me, it's
the Champs,
So it's just, well, that's the beauty of it, right?
But I think the players need the Prem more than the Champs, considering everything they've been on in the last 3 years at this club. But bro,
for sure.
Champions League, like you said, we're making up numbers, bro. I'm not on that. We need this.
I'm not going to say no to a Champions League. Absolutely not. I mean, I remember the Real Madrid game. Remember the celebrations after that. Imagine
I'm saying we're flirting with it. It's now time to penetrate. Like, I want that.
Oh yeah, I hear that. But for me, it's a selfish thing. It's just a pure selfish thing. Being a 27-year-old growing up and being told that, when he grows up and sees Arsenal win the league, he's going to love it. But I'm still waiting for that moment.
Yeah, still waiting for it.
It's not happened. And it's just eating away. Even the days of Arsene Wenger when we were in title races, and we just never got over the
Emirates era. Oh Lord.
And then the 2015-16 season, the Danny Welbeck head, and you think, oh my God, we're going to win the league.
Maybe the stars are aligning now.
The Valentine's Day, you're thinking, it's all written. This is it. Like, this is the moment. And then it doesn't happen, and then and then you're thinking, and he leaves, and then Henry comes in, and it just didn't work out, and we didn't give him enough time. But then the narrative had already changed. We weren't even thinking about winning the title. We were just thinking about qualifying for Champions League and trying to get Arsenal back to being some sort of Arsenal on the pitch and off the pitch, right? So the fact that we've been so close, listen, the 23-24 season, I'll probably never get over. I mean, to see a club win 16 games and draw one against a team you're trying to compete and then lose the game to Villa, and people are trying to tell me that that's the way you lost the league, and I hear what they are saying, but now I know what Liverpool fans felt, because I have to go back to you have to go back to New Year's Day, New Year's Eve, when we lost to Fulham, and then 3 days before that, West Ham, and I have to try and compute that was the reason we lost the league, because of 2 results at the back end of last year. There's the consistent levels. I think that's so hard. And for the players and for me, that was the one I really struggled with. And that was why I had the concern last season, because I thought, how do they psych themselves up and go again?
That's my fear this season. We'll get on to it, but if it goes left, that's I don't know where you turn. I'm happy that in a disingenuous way, I'm happy I'm not Mikel Arteta or whatever, because I don't know where you turn. We'll have to pick up and go again, but it can't be nice for, the last 3 years, there's been different contexts. We've been doing the chasing, we've been the chasers. As you said, we ran it to the last day of the season to the point where the Premier League is literally at the Etihad and at the Emirates, ready for whatever happens. And it's like you can grab it. And that's where I feel we're at. We're competitive. We're having some good nights out. You mentioned Real Madrid. We can't not love it. We've got all the great statistics. We're doing our thing in the Prem. We just need to get over the line. We just need to shake that. I don't care about the external noise, in it. Me and you are in the public eye. We see all the talking points, and we back the club as much as we can in it. I just think we need to defeat ourselves, because there has to be, as much as I think they're on it, there is always that element of doubt, and I want them to know essentially their tears, if they did cry, isn't in vain. That's where I'm at. For the players, I'd pick the Prem over the Champs. For me, I'm, like I just said, I'm selfish in it. I'm going Champions League. We ain't done that. Arsenal fans, young and old, we have not got for our club of our standard. Our record in Europe is appalling. But I do agree with the notion. Get the Prem, start dominating this kind of thing. Then you go abroad and maybe do whatever. So yeah, let's just win one of those, man. Or both, man. We need to, man. And it's actually realistic now. We're not that far.
I think that's, as much as it's the beautiful thing, I almost think that's the concern as well. Because when people say if you don't win it, what's next? Because you're so tantalizingly close, and the Arteta has built this squad with the help of Edu, and now the help of Andrea Berta has taken it to a new dimension and gave us that a little bit more aggression in the market. You know, no, we'll get Eze and we'll get Nkapie.
Big up the Cronkies as well, because they had their best reputation. They done their thing. I'll give them that.
And Josh has really stepped up to the plate.
He's very hands-on now with the club.
And he's very hands-on. And when you look at the investment and other things they've got, if you look at Arsenal as their, you know, an entity, it's the only thing that hasn't really been successful. So there's a drive there to be successful in every front. So that's the only concern, is that, you know, we are so close. And if it doesn't happen again this season, I understand the noise. I understand the question that will be posed, even though it does frustrate me because he's been there 6 years, but he wasn't been there from the day dot to win Arsenal the league. His first job was to get Arsenal to beat Arsenal again, and he's done that. And I think, you know, sometimes in Arteta's world, the fact that we went from 5th to 2nd was probably a detriment, because we didn't really celebrate the fact that we were back in the Champions League, and we didn't understand that. We just went straight from qualification. We were so close to the league, it actually felt like disappointment.
Probably skipped 1-2 stages of the process. I hate the buzzwords, but of that process. The first year he's referring to, if you don't understand in the chat. So you're right.
And that's probably where you look back and then go, if it was just, you know, sort of a more steadier progress and more linear progress, we'd be looking at going, oh, you never know. But because you go so quickly, and then you think, oh, like that 22-23 season was a movie. And even though we lost it was just crazy. The vibes were unbelievable. We had 19 points after the first, 50 points after the first 19 games. I never really believed it. And I was like, I don't know if we're going to win. I'm not sure we're going to win. And funny enough, the first time I actually remember thinking we were going to win the league was the Ramsdale save again at Anfield for Salah and Konate. I don't know why, but that was the moment, because I thought them missing the penalty, the second half, how it worked, we came away there with a point. I just thought, I think we're going to win.
First 20 minutes of that game was unbelievable as well, man.
And that's the point. That was how good it was. But then when the tide turned and we went to Anfield, and we didn't lose, and we still remember the 95th minute and that ball through to Martinelli, and another day could have been through. I just was like, oh my God, we're going to win the league. But it was just, I couldn't really compute it. And then obviously what happened, and then we sort of just ran out of gas and ran out of steam. And then you looked at the way we played the game, the games that season, it was so fast, so entertaining, so free-flowing, and we just ran out of gas, basically. And City, by the way, with a treble-winning side. And then you look at the season
against
serious team, and then you look at the season after that, it was more elements of control. There was still some wonderful football, and there was this thing about, you know, sort of waiting to pounce. You know, we were sort of reserving some of the engine and the energy in the first part of the season, and that's when we went on that wonderful run. And then last season, we just, for a combination of everything, were never really in a title race. It felt like we were always playing catch up. But the beautiful thing about that is, for how negative it all feels in our heads, we still had some wonderful memories last season. And the fact that we finished second and got to a Champions League semi-final with what we had to go through is pretty exceptional, really, because that shows you the level you're at, even when you're at your worst.
Shows the hunger of the players as well, if I'm honest.
And exactly. And that's probably what keeps them going, is the fact that they are convinced. They do say that in interviews. They go, when we win or when we win. So there is this belief, there is this anger and hunger inside of them, but we don't play the game. We can talk on this, we can back them in the media, we can say what we want, and we
can't predict the future. We don't know what's going to happen, man. You look at Arsenal fans, you know, 1 minute, I'm speaking about the fans that like live in their emotions. 1 minute we're the best in the world, we beat Bayern Munich, we're not just the favourites for the Prem, but also the champs. Now it's all over. Villa of getting their ducks in a row, City are circling. I'm scared to go in the water because of the Sharks. It's going to happen, innit? That's the nature of the game. 1 minute Arteta is a hero, then he's an idiot. 1 minute this player is amazing, then he's rubbish, etc., etc. I do have to ask you though, and it's a conversation I don't really want to have, because I'm very fond of Mikel Arteta, but I'm fond of my team more. You've made us competitive again. You know, when it's all said and done, there's obviously, you've got things right, you've got things wrong, you and everybody involved. God forbid, but if you left today, you could leave with your head held high. Forget the trophies. Where were we in 2019? Again, we can't really see like off the field, innit? We can't see how the attitude and all of that has changed at London Coley, but I can almost guarantee, if you left today to when you came in, we're in two different dimensions. We're competitive again. We see the statistics. Everybody knows it's a long day at the office beating Arsenal. I actually think we're at that point now where we're the only ones that can defeat ourselves. I don't typically think we shit the bed and whatnot. And as I said, you could leave before you could leave with your head held high. but there's still an element of maybe you're the man before the man. Maybe Arsene Wenger's coming. He's paid off the stadium. We're in a great financial bit. Obviously, he weren't adapting to the modern game. Arteta's coming. Arteta probably would have struggled to do the Wenger thing, but he's come in and done whatever. Then maybe the next man goes in. If we don't win silverware, yeah, where do you look at it? I hate to ask this, but then where do you look at it? Because I also ask you that because we talk about that anyways, yeah. But also, Mikel Arteta was talking in his press conference before the Everton game about I need to earn the contract. And we all know he'll be in demand, but he's got 18 months left.
Yes.
It has been a 6-year journey. I do think people are disingenuous with that because it's been 3-4 years now where we're back now, like we're ready to try something. So by all means, judge him on these 4 years. The prior 2 years, we just need to get our house back in order. But where do we go from that? Because I'm not saying he necessarily needs to be sacked for me. It's one where I'll consider everything. But you do kind of, maybe you need someone else that will do something different. Maybe you need a different voice. I don't feel there's like you can move in one kind of direction. And I hope that's not the conversation. Yeah. But I got to ask you, it'd be disingenuous of me not to ask you this, bro.
What do we do?
Some want to keep him regardless. Someone, some are saying sack even if you win a trophy. Some are saying win or be sacked. Some don't really care if you win the FA Cup or the League Cup. It has to be the Prem or the champs, man.
Yeah.
And
some don't think he should even be here right now.
Yeah, some don't even think he should be here at this moment in time.
Yeah, I think even last season when Slot came in and won the league, I think a lot of people.
Yeah.
So how do we look at it? Okay, let's look at it from the view of the player first and foremost. I've always maintained this. If you are William Saliba and you're linked with a move to Real Madrid and you decide to stay and pen a 5-year contract at Arsenal, and there is no trophies there. And if you look at Gabriel, who's signed, who's been part of the project since the
28 now as well.
Yeah, 2020. Since you joined in 2020, and he's signed a new contract. When you look at Bukayo Saka, that wants to stay at the football club. When you look at Jurriën Timber, and there's negotiations apparently with Declan Rice going on behind the scenes. That gives me the trust in the players that they are playing for a football club that they love, but also they believe in the manager because a player's career is quite short and everyone wants to win trophies and they feel that they're in the best position to do that at this football club, which is nice. It'd be a lot more concerning when we had the days of old when we were like, Alexis Sanchez's contract is running out and
the shenanigans,
bogus, and Mesut Ozil's contract or Aubameyang or Van Persie. Where we can talk about that at depth, but that fills me with a little bit more confidence. Listen, I think it's a cultural thing with Arsenal. I think I get a bit petrified when we talk about sacking managers, and I think that rubs off when I talk about other clubs because I talk about Ruben Amorim, and I say I don't know what you guys expected because the guy even said himself he didn't want to take over a job mid-term. This should be the first season he's been, judged. I look at Tottenham with Thomas Frank, and they're very quick to criticise, but the guy's been in the job for 5 minutes. You've got to remember that Daniel Levy employed him. Daniel Levy's not there anymore. That's a massive change at a football club. I don't know what people think to expect. So I think that rubs off on me.
As a manager, more time in today's day and age, man.
But it's ridiculous because as managers, you need results and you need to buy time. But what is time? Even at the start of this season, people were thinking that Unai Emery's career at Aston Villa was going towards the end because they hadn't had a good start to the season.
And now look, I think they showed the first 5-8 games, and now it's all amazing.
Score in the first 4 games, and it's a life as a manager. You look at Eddie Howe, and I think it's absolutely crazy that the talk around Eddie Howe. This is a guy that when his first game, by the way, was at the Emirates and they were bottom of the league. And if you look at the job they've done, 2 Champions League twice in 3 seasons, he's won the first trophy in 70 years. But now because they're in mid-table and they're finding it a little bit hard, the question is, has he run its course? Which I think
is the nature of the game.
It's the nature of the game. It's crazy. So the question will come with me for me personally. We had a manager for 22 years. I was very surprised even when we sacked Unai Emery. I have to be honest because I didn't think the club would do that because I don't think it's in their. It's not in their culture. It's not in their resume. It's not in their DNA to do.
Like a long-term relationship.
Do like a long-term relationship. And for me, I am scared of what the future could look like because I don't want to lose where we are. I think we are tantalizingly close. And if you do
get to seize the present, man, that's my thing. Like I'm obviously.
Could you tell me a manager that would come in and guarantee you the league?
There's no, and that's something. That's why I asked you because I do think it's one where don't get twisted. You can stand on whatever side of the fence. Arteta has to go. He has to stay. All those things. But I think you need an open mind. I think people need to understand we could get better, we could get worse. But if we're going to do that, we have to commit to it. I do think if you're talking about a certain caliber of manager, I can't sit here and say we're going to go and grab Luis Enrique. We're going to go and do this. We're going to go and do that. But question him, and that's kind of the angle I would want to go to because I'll be looking at, like you said earlier, got a good squad, tied down the players. We got 1-2 youth players. You know, you bring in, added more quality and get us better. We can get over the line. I don't think it would be necessarily a rebuild. But then I also have to question my own logic, because I sit here and say, who are we going to get? And I'm not even using that as an excuse to just keep Arteta, or even if whatever in it. It's just, who would we get? But then I question my own logic and say, okay, when we got Arteta, beyond just working with Pep Guardiola, you never really had a basis in it. So because I've seen my team take that calculated risk, that might be something to consider. And that's where I think football is going. I think you're going to see a man might retire at 32. He's in an academy or learning an apprenticeship, and then bang, before you know it, you didn't even know he was retired and he's a manager now. So it's a techie one. And it's one where I even look at it, Arteta might walk. I don't mean that in a sense of he thinks I failed and whatever. It just, I was reading an article in The Athletic, and apparently, you know, he's kind of from, remember when Pep, after Barcelona or Bayern, there was he took like a sabbatical in America. I think Arteta is on that, because I was reading an article with The Athletic, and they say those that speak to him says he's got no like desire to be like Alex Ferguson or them kind of managers where you're there forever. And they said that, you know, they struggle to see him at a club in the 10-game mark. Now we've had 6 years, 4 more years. He might walk anyways, in it. So it might need to be a succession planning. But it's honestly, bro, I don't know. I think people are liars, yeah. Because I honestly think the only thing you can say about Mikel Arteta, the only thing over his head is, are you a winner? You're a good coach. Are you a winning coach?
Yeah.
He can coach. He can make difficult decisions. He showed big bollocks to take the job where he had no experience, and he's joining a fragmented Arsenal. Yes, he's got things wrong and things. Tactically, he's inept. He's one of the best modern day managers. He's one of the best in world football. He gets those plaudits from managers that have won bare things than him, innit? But I just need you to win shit now for my club, innit? Because as much as I care about the future, we need to seize the present, man. And I just feel, bro, what I don't want to look at is in these last 3 years prior to this year's season, right? I don't sit there and think 20 years from now, could we have won a Prem? Could we have won 2? Could we have won 3? Could we have picked up League Cups? Could we have picked up a champs? So that's where I need everyone to go. And it can't all be his fault, but ultimately, this is the day and age of football, innit? Like, it does come with the manager. This is the belly of the beast, the nature of the game, man.
It's crazy, man, because you have to look at the guy's journey from the day he started, and then the fact that, you know, away from football, he had to navigate a COVID pandemic. I mean, that was crazy in itself. And then when he wins the FA Cup, and then he goes through what he thought would probably be, people probably thought he was in trouble then. You know, when people were coming out, I remember when it was like the likes of Holding and David Luiz, and they were calling him a genius. And I was thinking, how is he a genius? Because the pitch, it's not resonating on the pitch. And then Gary Neville's coming out and saying this defense is, you know, it's uncoachable and things like that. And then the progression and just the drive and where we've got to under him it's been amazing. And also like the recruitment. That's another thing, the recruitment and the talent. You know, I remember when Ben White got signed for 50 million, Ramsdale got signed for 30 million. You know, people were thinking, what is this guy doing? You know, I remember
Jamie Carragher and Gary Neville.
I still remember when Lucas Torreira got, you know, taken out of the team, and we were like, he's one of our best midfielders. What is this guy doing? Like, don't come in and start thinking, you know, everything within 5 minutes. But he knew what he wanted. And what I thought was so good about him is he always takes accountability. A lot of people think he ridicules stuff, but he's
never hidden from that.
It's always me. You know, he doesn't play the players. Sometimes he'll say about the players after the game.
Rarely, though.
Rarely.
One of the rare times he's dug out the players.
That's good because they need that.
Sometimes they need that, yeah. And they dug themselves out, to be fair.
But I wonder how he's feeling. You know, I know he does interviews and everything, but I'd love to sit him down in a room just with no cameras and just said, how are you feeling about this project? Because he, like you said, he's got 18 months on his contract. So there's no this gogging right that he's got the safest job in the Premier League. And there will come a time where Arteta won't be the manager of Arsenal. And the club have to think about that. They have to think about that as a contingency plan, because like you said, it's the next guy that comes in, because, you know, Cesc Fabregas's name has been mentioned as doing a very good job at Como. But do I really want to see that type of manager come in after Arteta? Probably not, because that screams to me like another process, another project.
I'm a bit impatient now, so it's over the line thing now.
And I think this is a really bad example, but it's almost kind of like an England situation when you look at Gareth Southgate. You can say what you want about
I get where you're going with it.
But on the piece of paper, the guy has got a World Cup semi-final, 2 Euro finals. So Tuchel's job is just to improve that, which means he has to win it.
If you don't win it, it's dead.
And that's the same. And I'm not saying Southgate's a great manager. I'm not comparing him to Arteta in terms of tactical or whatever. I'm just talking about on a blank piece of paper, the next guy that comes in has to win. Same with Arteta. When you look at it, and if say it's 4 second-place finishes, then there is only one place, and that is number 1. Now, I know there's no guarantees in football, but I would like the next manager to be the best in class to get us over the line. I don't think you could do that with another project manager. I think it would have to be an Ancelotti type, if you could find that, someone with experience. I don't know if
Yeah.
that really works. So that's why I'm a bit. I love Arteta. I love Arteta. I would run through a.
Yeah, I've been in the press conferences. He's got aura. I give him that. I hate to use them kind of new age words, but I get why they say, I believe in the guy and stuff. Some people say, and it's tosh. It's facts with him.
But it's a feeling. And lucky enough, do you know what? I've had the same. I've been lucky enough to be very close to him. And I actually remember when it was Arsenal 3, Southampton 3. And I was lucky enough to be.
Mate.
Terrible game. And I promise you, this is word for word. I was lucky enough to be shadowing a bit of live sport for work. And I went down to the radio press conference, just with the radio interview, just after the game. And think about it, right? You've just drawn 3-3 at home to Southampton. Everyone in that stadium and everyone watching has probably thought, maybe the title's gone. First thing he comes out with was, I love my players. Second thing he came out with was, we've got a beautiful chance on Wednesday to put it right against Manchester City. And I swear to you, I came out of that and went, lads, we're winning on Wednesday. I don't know how, but we're winning. I went, that manager is not letting us not win that game of football. And they all thought I was crazy. And obviously I was, because we lost 4-1. But that's what my point is the belief.
Like an army general. He's inspiring his troops, man.
If you're in a dressing room with him, I would believe and I would run for him. Do you know what I mean? You know, when you hear about players and managers and they're like, no, man, this guy isn't it. I was like, oh my God, he's convinced me so much. I was like, I don't know what he's going to do tactically. I don't know what he's going to say, but I believe
we can do it.
I can believe we can do it. So it's about their belief. It's about belief. And I've always said this, the end of the project might not be him saying it, might not be the players, but you'll just feel it in the stadium. You'll feel it and you'll look at it and go, I think it might just have run its course. When that is, how that is, I don't know, but you will notice it. And we can have that conversation then. But this is the beauty of it, but it's also very, very, because football comes in cycles. And what I don't want is the next cycle to be back at fourth and back at third and back just consolidating Champions Leagues, but not looking up again. I don't want that. I like what we're doing here. I love this. I really appreciate this, but I want a trophy. I think I want all the trophies. I get that. And sometimes you need to just shoot at the moment, because sometimes you might miss otherwise.
Fine margins and small margins, and we're a good team. We need to be a great team. Great teams win the league, and unfortunately, the Premier League's never been more competitive as it's been. We know about City, and I do think in the last 3 years, and maybe even this season, when we've dropped points and the good, the bad, and the ugly, I don't believe in necessarily looking at other teams. I think we need to exhaust our own internal options. I think we've 15, 16, 17 games in the Prem played. There's enough, even from beating Wolves, from a couple of our away games recently. There's enough of that kind of stuff to look at for us to go to the next level. Do you think the project's done though? Because for me, I do. I've always said this, and people are like, what are you talking about? I think the project was getting us to be competitive again. Like all the things that we're taking for granted now, or should be there at the Arsenals, at the Man Uniteds, at all of these teams, being competitive, from you're walking in and training, everyone's moving serious. I think we've done all of that now. We're a decent team now. I think the project's done. I just think we're in a new realm now. It's, can you win trophies? Can we create new moments, create new histories? I don't think it's a project thing anymore, but where do you stand on the whole project stuff and the process? Because I actually think that was the process. And you didn't say it, but it made me kind of think this more, in that the first year we fought for the title, that obviously wasn't on anybody's bingo sheets, innit? I think that kind of, we put ourselves into a format we weren't really trying to be in at the time, but you got to take your chances, innit? But yeah, I think the project thing's done and the process thing's done. We're competitive, it's just about winning. But where are you at on the whole process and projects and all those words?
I mean, yeah, they're buzzwords. I mean, obviously, phases was one word that came to mind, wasn't it, straight away? What phase are we in?
The phase thing as well. Yeah, even that.
Yeah. I don't know, because I think the best person to ask is Mikel, because he might tell you different. I think his project was, do I make Arsenal again, which he has done, on the pitch and off the pitch, and how we carry ourselves and how it's the responsibility and how we remember to play for this beautiful club and have the enjoyment to do that. It's not a chore to play for Arsenal. You're one of the best players in the world to come and play for Arsenal. He's done that. And also I think it helps the fact that he was a player for us and also a captain. So he has that affiliation and he understands what it means to put the shirt of Arsenal on. And sometimes, like you say, you take that for granted when you've got some players and you're thinking, they don't understand, they don't care. Like, I'm not good enough. So you're living my dream, right? You are living my dream. I can't, but the best thing I can do is support you, and I will support you as long as you put 100% in. These players do that every week. The manager does that all the time. In terms of the project, it's about how much they want it and how much they can believe it. And that's what it is. if Arteta's sitting there, which I don't think he is, and going, actually, I've done what I've came here to do. In fact, I've actually probably done a little bit more and actually taken me for a surprise. I don't think that, knowing him, watching his interviews, I think he wants to win and I think he can believe. So, no, I don't think the project is done. I think there's not unfinished business. I just don't think the journey has ended yet. I think the destination is called the Premier League and Champions League. And I think we're nearly on there. I think we're a bus stop away. I think we're a couple of miles down the road. But the beautiful thing is that, and I've said this, and obviously City are excellent and incredible, and Pep is probably one of the best of all time, if not the best. I do look at it and I do think there is, where City are brilliant, it is Arsenal against Arsenal at times. And the answers are within. I think the squad, I think the squad is complete. I think you can never have a perfect squad in football. You can ask Pep, you can ask Klopp,
they'll always want more.
They'll always want more. You can always want more, and you can always try and get more. But I look at this and I think the squad's there. The squad's there. You can utilize that, and you can win it. You can win trophies with this squad. It's an incredible group. And I know the pressure is on there because you don't want to rotate so much in terms of you don't want to make 5 or 6 changes, because if as a manager, if you do that against Bournemouth away and then you draw, everyone's saying, well, why don't you just keep the same team and made 2 or 3 changes? Because that's the pressurized situation that you need to, you can't sink, you need to swim in that. So
swim in the deep end.
You've got to swim in the deep end, but I think you got to live by your sword. You live by your decisions. So I think the project isn't done. I think there's a way to go, but it'll be interesting to see what happens if we did not win the Prem or the Champs. It'd be interesting.
It won't be interesting, my boy. I hear it. But...
What I'm saying is, if we won the League Cup and the FA Cup, I would wonder what that would do for Mikel and the players, not necessarily the fans, because I can understand already the fans were not going to be happy and not going to be satisfied. And best believe we're not going to be having a parade, and I'm not going to come on here and have a celebration party about winning the League Cup and the FA Cup. But it'll be interesting to know about the trophy discourse again and how that reacts. And then if they go in next season, because they might just feel like the pressure's off them to win and they can go and win the Premier League and the Champions League. I don't know. Or they might be going, actually, do you know what? The players have done, the players are tired. I don't know. I prefer to look in the here and now, and I've always done that. I like to look at the present because the future is too far away. You can never predict what happens in football.
The future brings uncertainty. The past brings regret. There's no time like the present. Arsene Wenger, that's the realest thing Wenger ever said, and I think that's something for football as well as life. 100%. You're right.
Yesterday is the past. Today is the present.
Exactly. That's the only way you can better things. And that's, for me, I'm a big fan of you go to war with yourself, because then no mercy on the opponents. We go to war with each other in training. Arteta goes to war with the man in the mirror. These players cannot rest on their laurels because we can't afford to. Even if we won the Prems and the Champs, I would demand even more, because the only way is obviously down. We do that, we're great. I do want to ask you though, on the topic of it does feel like it's Arsenal. All of us do feel to a degree at times like it's Arsenal versus Arsenal. We can be our best friends or our worst enemies, yeah. What do you make of the injury scenario? Because, the bottom line kind of is there's more players and we're still kind of in that stuff. Obviously, people have got injured on a football field. People have got injured in training. People got injured for their countries. I can't just blame the medical staff, but maybe we've got to look at the medical staff. Maybe potentially, what Arteta is doing with the players. I also think what people forget, there's also an element of players having to look after themselves. I'm not saying they're not, but they might know that they're 99.9% fit, and they're telling the gaffer I'm fit. Like Ben White, he's known to historically withhold injuries. You obviously go out there and you make it worse. But where do you look at that? Because I don't know what to say. That's what I wish I was a fly on the wall for, if I'm honest with you.
I mean, that's one thing I would say. That's definitely Arsenal versus Arsenal in that case. Because, listen, I can speak at length about injuries in football. I understand they're part and parcel. But I think for every club, I don't think any fan should be going through and talking about injuries as much as they do. And I think that's a bigger problem with football, because we have this conversation about how we want entertainment and money for fans. And if you want to pay X amount of money, because it's not cheap to go and watch these football clubs play.
Cheap, especially as you mentioned going to Newcastle, whether you drove or got on the train, that's a serious budget on top of the
I'm talking for every club in the Premier League.
Every team, yeah.
Every team. It's not
every football fan all over the world, whether you're going to games or spending money on Sky and all those things.
And partly, yes, you want to see your team win, but partly you want to watch the best players play and you want to watch your team play. And like I said, injuries are part and parcel, but they should never be the forefront of everyone. And I'm sick and tired of talking about it. And when it comes to Arsenal, it is a bit concerning because,
I'd
have to look at last season and the fact that we lost all our attackers. Okay, you think that's an anomaly that'll never happen again, and you go in the summer window and you rectify that by buying, some real strong depth. This season, we've lost all our defenders, even though the fact we brought in Mosquera.
And before that, we had all our attackers gone. So now I'm starting to get scared about midfield. God forbid, but
we can't lose anyone in the midfield because we are. I think we are a little bit light. When I say we're a little bit light, we don't play Christian Norgard for whatever reason. So yeah, I am
1,000,000%.
I am concerned because I think it's a problem within, but I don't know how you rectify it. And I agree with your point wholeheartedly that yes, it's very, 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 very difficult for a football player to say, I can't play. But also I think about it and go, you've got to do what's best for yourself and the team. Because let's be honest, there is a World Cup coming up. All right. Yeah. I'm guessing everyone.
I understand Gabriel Magalhaes playing for Brazil, even if it was friendly, man. Before he knew what Arsenal was, he was a young lad in Brazil, bro. Like, there's no higher honor than playing for your country. Well, your career is short.
And it's a home from home. I think for him that would have been a beautiful moment.
Exactly.
Playing for Arsenal, playing for Brazil at the Emirates with his family there. And I think on the Tuesday they were playing against Lille, so two of his former clubs. So that's a very full circle moment.
What I'm saying, it's poetic as well for him.
So for the emotions to him, I think we can understand that. However, what is stupid about that Gabriel situation is that we didn't know until afterwards that he was training alone for head of the game to load his management. So why didn't they just make a decision that he could only play 45 minutes instead of the 60 minutes? Because the injury happened on 63 minutes. So we can be talking for the space of 3 minutes, DBP fine. And, I'm all for players playing, but let's listen to the medical teams. Let's listen to the doctors and let's not tread over the red zone because it's impacting everyone. And also, it will impact your manager. It's difficult for managers to pick a team anyway. You don't want 6 or 7 players injured for any club. So I am...
Especially someone that's key like Gabriel Magalhaes. I think there's a correlation with Magalhaes getting injured. Sorry to cut you, but Magalhaes getting injured and with kind of getting back into that territory about handbrakes going up, about moving it too slow and things like that, where to go back to what you said, I agree with. I think Newcastle was a turning point. So from Newcastle to probably just before kickoff with Sunderland was playing scintillating football. I do think Magalhaes' injury has harmed us in both ends of the field beyond the obvious, man.
Well, that's another thing. You look at the fact that we went to Chelsea, I know they had 10 men, but you had, no Gabriel, no Saliba. And I don't think people realise we're not talking about them playing defensively. We're talking about how we build up from the back and how we play tactically with those two. They're so important for what we do and the trust that we give those guys. And Saliba as well. I think sometimes, listen, I love Arteta and I understand you don't want to say too much in the media, but sometimes I think you need to give us a little bit more in press conferences when it comes to players. I know you don't want to give the team too much or carry it away. But for us, when I'm here in a matter of days, and I know Saliba's back now, but the matter of days become a matter of days. Look, every day's a matter of days, right? And then you worry us a little bit more because we don't.
He does have us on strings in his press conferences,
which I get, and I know that Kai Havertz. You hear multiple reports, and I'm very worried about Kai Havertz because the guy has now missed 8 months of football in 2020.
2 big injuries like Magalhaes this year.
Yeah, and I'm concerned about that. I'm concerned about him. I want him to get back to his best, not just for Arsenal, but for the sake of his career. And like you said, 2 big injuries. A big knee injury, and you tore your hamstring. So there's a concern. There was even concern about Bukayo Saka when he had his first injury. But I've got to say, after watching him on Saturday and watching him this season, luckily he hasn't lost anything. In fact, I still think he's underrated. I think he's an absolutely beautiful player, and I love him. I'd love us to give him the ball more in games. I thought he didn't have the ball enough on Saturday against Everton, and every time he does, I feel like something can happen. So, yeah, injuries are a massive concern in football, but definitely for Arsenal. But I don't want to use it as an excuse.
No, there's no excuses, man.
There is no excuses now anyway, because I look at the players that are coming in. Nketiah is technically our backup. Mosquera has been unbelievable. These guys are our backup. The depth is there. Ben White.
There's still a couple of players that ain't really had an opportunity. I know it's not the same, but you mentioned Norgard, you throw in a Wanyeri. There's players that have been on the peripheral things, and unfortunately, the only conversation I would love to sit here and have with you and everyone is around depth, like who's going to be in the match day squad, who's on the bench, who's in the 11, those kind of things. But unfortunately, we just need last season as a case study, and these lot are paid professionals, so they know, God forbid, if 20 players are injured, this one's playing centre half, this one's playing right back. It's peak, it's hella peak, it's something that's been synonymous with Arsenal, it's something that needs looking into. But we're saying all of this, and while there's a lot to go in May, we've taken some stumbles, and there's obviously, we're not perfect, but we've got a good platform. So that kind of shows where we're at, and for me, we've got everything to fight for. It's what we do beyond this point. Well, let me ask you this as well, yeah. What do you make of us away from home? Because I haven't been too impressed with our away form. We've had some good games. Newcastle picked them up. I know we've played some teams in great form, but I just don't think we've been good enough away from home, man. Like, I understand the approach against Chelsea, but I would throw that in there. Obviously, we lost against Aston Villa. I'll throw that there. Sunderland, in form, all of that kind of stuff. But for a best defensive team in Europe, 15 minutes away from grabbing 3 points, you got to do that. But and obviously, I actually have some smoke for Arteta in that regards. But what have you made of our away form? Because we still got to go to some difficult places. We got some out of the way, but we got to go to some difficult places. Shout out to us for the Everton result as well.
Yeah, do you know what it is? It goes back to the timing thing I said. I remember we were having a conversation about the Big Six record and we weren't winning games because our insufficiencies against the mid-block, against Newcastle or Villa or Fulham or whatever have you was the concern, and not our record against the Big Six. And now it seems to be our away form isn't doing particularly well. However, I don't think it's as bad as what people are making out, purely because if you go to an away game and a draw and you win at your home games, you're taking 4 points out of 6. That's a way to look at it. It's probably a bad way to look at it. But that becomes a tactical thing. And I think that Arteta always does this, and especially in a big game, he'll always observe what the other team are doing for the first 45 minutes, and then we can see
big on control.
And, if it's still 0-0 and you're always in a game, and that's the thing, I can trust these players now not to wilt under pressure. I trust these players when they're playing a game, they don't hide. They enjoy defending, and
all of that stuff's redundant now, man.
So, I'm not too concerned about it. I think it's fine margins again. In the 94th minute against Sunderland, I mean, it looks like Sunderland are, they've been excellent this season. But then it changes the narrative a little bit. And obviously in the last kicking game against Aston Villa, that's a few points dropped there. And then it obviously paints a different picture. And then you look at the fact that we've lost to Chelsea, Chelsea lost to Liverpool, lost to Villa. So on paper, it adds up a little bit. And then people look at the Manchester United performances where you didn't play particularly well then. So as you've got a concern away from home, I prefer to look at it in another way and think,
win at the Etihad, boys.
Just win at the Etihad, but also we are top after 17 games, and we've navigated a very difficult away schedule, as you just said, and we've navigated some difficult injuries, and we've been playing beautiful football, and we've got an abundance of talent on the pitch. So I think if you look at all of that and you're 2 points clear, I think that's a recipe to be more positive rather than anything and less negative. So if it's a concern, we've got them out the way and we're still top. And you look at the games on paper, football's not played on paper, of course. There's some nice games to play there away from home, and we've got a lot of home games to play.
And like you said, we can change the narrative very quickly.
This week can be changed. I think, this week already, I think City played before us, and that's a tough game against Forest. They're in really good form at the moment. So if they were to drop points in that and say they only pick up a point and go a point behind, and we beat Brighton, it's 4 points, then I believe we played before them. And it's Villa at home. And then if we beat Villa, then it's obviously 7 points before they go away to Sunderland. And again, if they drop points there, then we play before them against Bournemouth. And then it's Chelsea. So all of a sudden, within a week, you could go back to having that 7-point lead.
A lot of mad games,
within a week. And it's Christmas, and it can happen quick. But it could also happen the same way. If we're not on our game and we miss the opportunities or we don't capitalize, then we could be looking at New Year's Day or the start of January, maybe 3 points, 2 points behind. I don't want to think about that. I think it's in our hands at the moment, obviously. So let's look about being top and pulling away. But look, it's not going to be easy. I don't know why people thought. I know October was brilliant and we were superb and it was great, but I've always been quite never too high, never too low. So this thing about being 2 points clear or City coming back hasn't surprised me, because you look at the talent they've got.
It's too early to be looking at the table and all of that. When you get to the end of March, April, May, then you start, that is doing this. All you have to do now is focus on yourself.
And that's moving. That's media pressure, though, bro. That's what people say, because I think, Gary Neville saying that after the Newcastle game, after game week, was it 10, saying if you don't win it from here.
Yeah, how many must wins? This is the hardest game of the season. We've done that. And you know what? Yeah, many a time with Arsenal players, even some under Mikel Arteta, I do think you've succumbed to that pressure. I don't think this with this group of boys, because the outside noise is irrelevant. You go win 5-0, everyone's happy as Larry. You go lose 5-0, God forbid, everyone's onto you. I just hope in August they looked at it. This is our points tally, what we're trying to target, whether that's, I think in the modern day, you have to be looking at 80, 90 points, maybe even 100, even though it's only been done by City, innit? Have that and just keep moving. Yeah, that's it for me. Just keep moving. I agree. And I think it's going to the wire anyways.
I think that game in April is crucial, and I think you have to block out the noise as the players. Like I said, you know, I've been told, and also like, you know, for me personally, you know, you learn about a title race once you're in it over the last 3 seasons. I've heard that you need to start well, and then I've learned that actually it doesn't matter about starting well. It's about November, December, picking up points then. And then I've told about, oh, don't worry about Christmas, because actually it's when February
and March, yeah.
And then March. In fact, it doesn't really matter what happened, because April's really the running, and it's the last 10 games, and that's when you seize the initiative. So really you can hear everything and go, actually, that doesn't make sense. So best to do is take it one game at a time, stay in your lane. Don't listen to anyone else, and take it 3 points by 3 points by 3 points. And if a City drop points, don't celebrate too high. Go and do your job on the pitch. And then when you get to a moment in February and you're like, there's 8 points there. Let's not get carried away, but there's a nice cushion there. Keep going. Keep your head down. Stay humble. We've heard that one before. Be respectful. But go and win the games of football.
100% though.
100%. That's the thing. I love talking about this, and I love talking about us, because I think we're exceptional. But I think everyone and every fan base is everyone in the fan base is on the same page, and that's a good thing in itself. No one's hiding away from it. Everyone is on the same page. However way they see it or view it is different. But Arsenal have to start winning trophies.
Yeah, that's it. Like some people, Arteta's the best thing since sliced bread. He's horrible. This player is great. That player is great. You know, I'll keep Arteta if nothing, this and that. But we're all aligned in that, bro. We've got a good team. We're not saying we're the biggest and baddest. We need to make up for lost time now. We think we've got everything. Cronkies, no one's doing the Cronky out thing. Arteta, you've got us second. Bert, you've come in and done madness. Yeah. You lot have navigated the injuries, even though medical team were going to need you to pull a rabbit out the hat and just get over the line. Let me ask you this, yeah. How do I make it make sense? Are you underwhelmed collectively with the big players we've brought in it? Like, obviously, big up Mascara. I actually exclude Madueke. I know he's an England international, signed for 50-odd million, but he was more of a like peripheral kind of guy, like a squad filler, which he's doing his thing. He scored a great goal. You know, the game changes, I would say. So Zubamendi, Eze, Gyökeres. Maybe underwhelms a bit harsh, but are you underwhelmed with what we've seen in the first part of the season from them two? And you could say maybe even potentially Eze a bit more, because we were excited. He is Premier League proven, all that kind of stuff.
No, I'm not underwhelmed, because I think it's a good reminder of just what it takes to play for Arsenal. And I think people forget just how elite this team is. And it's very easy from the, you know, from the stands to talk and do this and do that. But when I watch Eze, and I watch Eze play well, and the way he glides and the way he plays with moments. And he's had some incredible moments already. Some little moments, but he's had some moments. Newcastle first half. Spurs, you know, that's a hit that you're in the history books now. And
that's more than a moment. Yeah, that's folklore.
That's history settings. And then you look at you know, the ball over the top for Martinelli for the City game and the Bayern game. You know, just little things like that. You know, I'm not underwhelmed, because I think it takes time. I think we've got a wonderful player there. And also, I think, well, Naya, we've talked about this. We've talked about squads and we've talked about teams. You know, a lot of people go to, is it Odegaard? Is it Eze? Or is it Saka? Is it Madueke? I've always said I think it can always be both at the same time. I think you can have options in games. And this is where Arteta needs to sort of take the shackles off a little bit. You know, 75 minutes, you don't need Zubamendi. You can play Rice as a 6. I know Rice can do the job. You can play Odegaard with Eze. You can play Saka and Martinelli and Madueke, or Martinelli, and you can play Gyökeres. You can change it. You've got too many options. You've got great options. So, as someone I'm not underwhelmed with, I'm not. The Gyökeres one is fascinating. I can't lie. I could talk about it for a while, because
let us have all your Gyökeres thoughts, because I'm tired of speaking about Gyökeres. So it's nice to hear someone else. Like, I'm exhausted of everything. I'm regurgitating the same things at this point. The good, bad, and everything.
I say I'm a little bit confused, and the reason why I say that is because when everyone asked me who did I want as a striker, I wasn't sitting on the fence. I said I just don't care, because I said I've watched Kai Havertz, I've watched Jesus, I've watched even Mikel Merino score goals in the system. So it's not about people scoring goals. It's about being the natural-minded profile of being a number 9. You know, sniffing out the danger, being in the fox and the ball, being that type of striker that has the instinct of a striker.
Single-mindedness.
Right? Exactly. However, when I watch Gyökeres, it feels like we don't know his best game yet, and it feels like he doesn't know our best game yet. So we're trying to adapt, but we're not helping him when I do that. When I watched us play Sporting Lisbon, I was there. What interests me is when he had Trincao and Marcus Edwards, they also played in the 3-4-3 like Ruben Amorim, obviously in that system, but they were so close to him. So when they played the ball into his feet, he was allowed to pin and roll, but he had someone within, 5-10 yards of him.
Or player 1-2 and dart into the box.
There you go. There was something like that. I don't see that much. You know, what I don't understand sometimes is when Odegaard is orchestrating from deep and he's picking up the ball from Raya, there's no one vacating that. So when he gets the ball, is he meant to take it, big 3-man on his own? Because that's not what his game is.
He's not that kind of guy.
He's not like that kind of guy. So you need to hold the ball up to him, or, you know, he needs to have someone that he can set off to and run. But saying that, he needs to curb his obsession with trying to grapple the defender before he's got control of the ball. I don't know why.
I think he's too nice as well, if I'm honest, but it will come. I that's my biggest shock, is because you mentioned like confused. The thing I was confused the most about Gyökeres is, I understand you've just signed. Obviously, you had no preseason, then you had to play. Similar to Madueke, when you had a run of games, you then got injured, so there's a restart.
Yeah.
I do think Mikel Arteta, before all of these new signings came in just off last season, we were talking about like what you could do tactically for the players in the final third. So I do think there is a bit of a tax. I do think the collective group have had injuries. So there's been reasons for these things. But isolated to what he can control, I do think you could force the issue a bit more. I do think you're a bit too nice. I do think you're too obsessed sometimes with grappling. I do have sympathy for you to a degree, because I know the role you're coming in. But then I also feel, bro, Luke, in that if I could sit Arteta here and if I could sit Gyökeres here, bro, you two need to figure it out, because Gyökeres, I can make every excuse for you. I think you're a good player. I can make bare excuses. You knew what time it was signing for this club, low blocks, what the striker needs to do at this team and all those things. Arteta, I don't want to hear or care if he was your first choice or not, because at some point you signed off for this. And I do think if Gyökeres was at a couple of other sides, you might see a bit better. So I do think you're right in that they kind of need to understand each other's game. There has been chances created for him, which he hasn't taken advantage of. But he has to make his own problems as well. Go on.
No, there has been good moments. I mean, I think the Newcastle game in the first half, I thought he was very good.
One of his best games in an Arsenal shirt.
Yeah, I thought
right for me, Fulham away as well.
Yeah, and Fulham away, and that was the thing. Saka was coming inside, Eze was in that game, Trossard was coming inside, and they were playing the ball into the box, and he was pinning, and he got shots off. And that's the thing as a striker. I want my striker to shoot. I want my striker to have chances. I don't want to be coming away from the game going, Gyökeres has had maybe one chance, maybe a half chance, and people are saying, oh, he could have done better anticipating. No, I want my striker to have shots, because that breeds confidence, and the next one he gets, he probably puts it in the back of the net. And the Burnley game, I thought it was really good. Forget the opposition.
Another one, yeah. Before he obviously come off.
Exactly. And that really frustrated me, because I thought, well, okay, maybe it's just a precaution. And obviously it was a few weeks out. And yeah, now he has to play the game. The reason why I got confused was probably the Villa game. The reason why I was confused about that one is because when you play the first half and you play the way with the game played out, and then you make the two changes at half time, and we were all over him like an absolute rash in the second half, and we were brilliant. And I thought, we got the goal, we got the moment. I was like, right, this is it. Gyökeres, this is your moment, right? We are in the ascendancy of the game. You've got the big striker on, let's use him. We didn't use him. We didn't actually use him. I've seen that clip going around on Twitter where Rice puts the ball in the 93rd minute. If you don't believe you're going to get the ball from your players at times, you're not making that run.
Rightly or wrongly, yeah.
Rightly or wrongly, you're not making that run, because I didn't even think Rice was going to put the ball in. Like, who would? You're thinking about he's going to control it, or maybe go for a corner, or take a touch and play it back and start again.
Because there has been times where he's gambled and the ball's not come in, to be fair to him.
But then on the one on Saturday, I mean, he is literally there. Timber, I can see Timber can see it, but then he makes the harder pass, in my opinion, cuts it back to Saka. And I'm like, what's going on? If you want to help your striker out, he is literally 6 yards out, put it on the plate for him, 2-0. And then
he's got to be a bit more demanding in moments like that. Obviously, we're not privy to it, but we've seen that a lot. Like, if I'm Gyökeres and we've all played Sunday League, do you speak to your team like, fucking hell, like, lads, come on, give me that kind of service and I'm gone?
Well, I played as a striker. at Sunday League.
So you're the best person to have here?
No, well, I wouldn't say the best. I wasn't great. But I know that when I make the run, I want the ball. And I'm quick. So it was like, right, get as soon as and I watch the way Villa play, right? And I'm not saying we have to play like that. But if you look at the way Villa play with Tielemans, Kamara, and Begin, their first
Watkins always on his back.
Watkins isn't even looking, and they're not playing it to feet, they're playing it into space. So you got to go and run, but they're playing it within the channel. So he's got something to work with. I don't see us do that. We did it a couple of times. I think Saliba made one and he played it.
Big him up for his Leeds goal as well. But but that's what I'm saying. I don't have sympathy to a degree for Gyökeres in that, there's not going to be that much space. But that's why I also have no sympathy for Mikel Arteta, because you have a striker that is kind of redundant if you're not providing him with, every striker would, but if you don't provide him with service, he's redundant. So find a way to make it out. Like these are good options to have, man. And I do think it will. But I need it to happen now, because if we're talking about him just working hard and dropping deep and working the channels, I don't mean this in a disrespectful way, Gyökeres, but Marino can do that, Kai can do that, Jesus can do that. So there's nothing that separates you. And I've got 4 guys that I don't put my hat on. You're good players, you can help us, but I wanted that, like, I could put my hat on you type of thing.
Well, let me ask this question that I've been asking a few Arsenal fans, and the Arsenal fans in the comments can ask this. We're at the Etihad and it's 1-1, and it's the 80th minute, and Diaz makes a mistake, and Gyökeres is one. He's been played through. He's 1-on-1. You've got Gyökeres or you've got Gabby Jesus. Who do you want in front of that chance?
It's going to be Gyökeres, but Gyökeres, the current one I've seen, I don't know. It won't be Jesus. It won't be Jesus.
Or would
Maybe
it be
a game like City, because of his former club, he might bag, but I'd expect Jesus to do a lot of Brazilian skills and maybe hit the post, and the camera pans to his facial expressions. We love Jesus though.
Or you can have Havertz, whoever it is in that situation. And I'm talking, it is 1-on-1. Like, they are bearing down on the keeper. Donnarumma there, and that's the thing, because
I'll go Mikel Merino. As mad as it sounds, I'll go Merino. If it's not Trossard, I'll go Merino, because I think Kai can score, but Kai's like, I don't know, man. It's like with Kai Havertz, it's like putting your hand in a lucky dip in it. Sometimes he scores some very good finishes, other times he might fall over. I already said I don't really have faith in Jesus with that. I should be saying Gyökeres, and I do want to say Gyökeres, but then maybe it's recency bias of what I've seen in an Arsenal shirt. You might not even made the run, like, to even be in this kind of conversation. Whether Merino's slow or not, I just have a bit of faith in, like, to humor your question. Like, Merino might be the one still.
Well, you're entitled to that opinion, but I'll obviously.
Gyökeres, man.
But the thing is, Havertz, I'll go back to that 5-1 game against Manchester City. You know, after 2 minutes, Odegaard scored the goal, right? But there's no way my striker should be squaring that ball after 2 minutes in the game. He should never be doing that. And then if you remember, he missed a chance to make it 2-0, and he didn't want to shoot then, and he put it wide. But because he doesn't want a responsibility to be the guy. But when we were 3-1 up, he's a confidence player. And you see the way he took the goal when we have a cushion. I'm talking about cold-blooded, 1-on-1, 1-1, 10 minutes to go. Tart was on the line. That's where you've got the run for.
That has to be Gyökeres.
But we need to help him. But he needs to help us. There's some little things, tactical things.
Help us to help you.
Exactly. But we've got something there. You know, we can work with that. Maybe on Tuesday, tomorrow, maybe we start him again. And maybe this time we play, you know, you could even play tomorrow. You could play Eze, Wanyeri, Madueke, and you could have, or even Jesus. You could even play Jesus
tomorrow, if I'm honest.
Or you could even have Jesus off the left. You could even have, and then have Eze in the 10, and then you have Madueke, and then you've got players that can play around him, and then maybe then we can see. I just want to come away from a game where he's had maybe 4 chances. Fulham is the only one I can think of on the top of my head where he had 3 chances and he forced 2 good saves from Leno. But I don't want my striker feeding off scraps. We've seen that over the years. You know, I remember when we used to cross the ball in when Giroud wasn't even in the box. And then when he was in the box, we didn't cross it in. And you think
we still kind of do that now to a degree.
That's what I'm saying. So I know we need to adapt, and I know we have adapted because we have adapted. You talked about the lead goal, which is what we want to see. A ball around the corner, he can do his own stuff. But let's help the guy out first. You know, let's help him out, and he will help us out. You know, yes, at times when we're playing like that and we're 1-0 up away from home, I need you to control and hold the ball up and win fouls, because
we need a bit more.
That's what Havertz will do, because he will win his duels and he will control the ball and he will bring players into play. So you need to adapt that. But I think that will come. I want my striker to have shots and try and score more goals, and we need to help.
It's as simple as that, Luke, man. And you know what it is for
football can be simple, bro. That sometimes it is. Sometimes we overcomplicate it. We talk
do.
about
football's a simple game, complicated by idiots. You need to keep balls at the back of your net, put balls in the back of your opponents, and that's where I'm kind of at with Gyökeres. I do see things that are kind of easy to fix beyond what we've spoken about, like Wolves, the Wolves game at the Emirates. I think in Portugal, when you arrived in the box when Saka delivered, you probably make that right on time. Premier League, it's got to be kind of quicker. Those kind of things like that, I still think it's a bit of a culture shock, because you are a strong lad. It's just the centre-backs are stronger and the games are mad. So I kind of give you that. The one thing I would say with Arsenal, I want Gyökeres to score ugly goals, because that was the thing for me. You type him in on YouTube, man's bagging free kicks, he's scoring good solo efforts, kind of what he did at Leeds at home. I love all of that stuff. We need to do all of that. But it was the ugly goals, because it's hard to put a ball in the back of the net, as dumb as it sounds. Like his goals against Atletico Madrid, I'm sure it was Nottingham Forest where Eze's laid it on the plate. That's what I'm on with Gyökeres. Yeah, you might not be the most beautiful footballer. I've seen beautiful men up front in it. They haven't done what's needed to be done. So that's what I want to see. And I always say that could be so ugly. It's beautiful. Put the ball in the back of the net. Do that. We're laughing. I do think in the second half of the season, he'll be great. I know people are onto Zubamendi. I think Zubamendi's been good. I think he's only been kind of poor when the whole team's been poor. And I think he's kind of struggled in like them typical kind of Premier League games where it's just end to end. When it's a chess match, that's him. Got no problems with Eze. I think for Arteta, kind of what you said, he's got to figure out, is Eze going to be on the left? How do I coexist Eze and Odegaard, one off the left or centrally? How do I play them both? And do I drop Rice or Zubi? So he's kind of got to work that out because that's the one area. Mikel, I understand what you do in midfield. Defense, it speaks for itself. I know we score a lot of goals, but my issue has been the final third. I know people can point to Odegaard's season where he scored bare, Saka's season where he scored bare, got a tune out of Kai in terms of goal scoring, but I've always felt that's the thing. And I have shown me you can play attacking football. I don't think it's because there's a lack of competence. I just think you kind of have to battle yourself in it. Like you're a control freak. And if we want to get to a new level, then we all have to be new versions of ourselves, the manager himself, because I don't want to say he's still learning and all of this kind of stuff. But he is essentially. Now you've got the depth, you've got all of these kind of players. Prior to this year, really and truly, the team picked itself, really. It's Saka on the right, my man Odegaard through the middle. At the time, probably Martinelli off the left. Now you've got decisions. Trossard's on form. He cannot be dropped. You know, and then there's a bunch of other people that can play off the left, but you don't know who's the best one. Saka's the only one. Obviously, Gyökeres is a goal scorer, but the Marinos, the Kais, the Jesuses, they give all the other facets he wants from a striker. So these are good conversations and good questions to have. And we're talking about, as we have for an hour, the good, bad, and the ugly. We're sitting top. It's what we do from this point, and it starts tomorrow against Crystal Palace. It's as simple as that. We've got 4 chances to bring silverware home.
I completely agree. And that's the thing. And you can have so much variation in that. You can even play, Saka is unbelievable. Like you even saw it, we've seen it a couple of times this season. For 10, 15 minutes, just jump onto the left-hand side.
We've done that a lot against Everton as well, at least initially.
Let Madueke have the right-hand side for 10 minutes. Interlink, swap, play, be free. I said this only today, like it's pressurized for us because we can't control it. But go and have fun. You're an excellent team. Just go and enjoy it. I know there's a pressure on, but go and enjoy your football. Play attacking football. When you're 2-3-0 up, you'll enjoy it. You'll love it. And then you breathe confidence. Not that they don't need any confidence because they're exceptional at what they do. But if you play that type of way of football and you keep going, you just want to play. Eze's done it in countless interviews. He's like, football is entertainment. I like to go and show people what I can do and showcase my talent. The Emirates is a theatre, bro. Go in and perform and entertain to the world, and everyone's watching you. And everyone goes, oh, what a player. And Saka's skills, and, by the way, it's just so effortless, and then and defending is an art, defending is an art. It might be boring to some people, but the way they defend is incredible. And it's
not just the defenders. It's our first attacker is David Raya. Our first defender at the moment, assuming Gyökeres starts, is Gyökeres. That's why we press from the front. That's why we're so heavy on Raya's distribution, which he showed against Everton, to be fair.
And then look at the way David Raya plays.
Exactly. It's just a centre mid. I guarantee you ask him if he does. Do you want to play centre mid? He'll do it. He will do it. He's not interested in being a goalie. Pick him up.
And we can do, like we said, we can do all the things. We can talk about how we break the press and suck the team out of their shape, and that's brilliant. But sometimes you can just go out there and play your football and play your game. And tomorrow, I think that's a beautiful opportunity to do that. And then you're at home against Brighton. You're at home against Villa. We're all going to be there. The crowds are going to be up for it. There's not nerves now. We're used to be like we're all matured now in these title races. Just go and enjoy your football. And that's the thing. Go and enjoy your football. You've got so much attacking talent. Keep the ball moving, play it quick. And then when you need to and you're 2-0 up and you've got 5 minutes to go, then you can go back to taking Odegaard off and you can bring on, Calafiori or Nkapie, whoever it will be.
Yeah, you can do whatever you want.
Shut up. Because even then, that you're going to get a chance on the counter-attack because the game has changed and the game is split. But yeah, man, there's a feeling in here. I think, look, if I came on here, I'd be honest with you. I'd be on here and I'd say, listen, I'm not sure. I have to be honest, I'm not sure because there's no point faking emotion and feeling just for the sake of it. I only say what's in here and I only see what's in there as well. And in the mind and in the heart, something's coming. And I think it's the Prem.
I think we're winning silverware. I just can't tell you what. I wish, like what we were speaking about earlier, I wish I could say champs and Prem, or for me, champs, for you, Prem. I don't know, but I would be really surprised if we don't win silverware. I
always sit on the fence on the champs purely because I do think the table doesn't lie in the Premier League. I think it's 38 games. I think you earn your rights to be champions. Even when Liverpool last season, then people are trying to tell me they weren't good. They were absolutely exceptional. I think it was 17 wins in the first 19. The reason why they tailed off at the end is because no one like ourselves.
They were on party mode already. And whatever people say, you can say the league's bad, all this stuff. Liverpool first, everyone else was behind them. That's the other team. What do you want Liverpool to do, bro?
They had an opportunity to relax.
They ran with it. Other people, including us, fumbled. Simple as that.
And that's the thing. That doesn't mean they weren't good. They were exceptional. I think with the Champions League, I think you can be very, very good, but it's just the variables and unpredictability.
No, if I had to put money, I'm putting money. I want the champs, but if I had to put money, it's more realistic if we win the Prem. I'll be surprised if we win the Prem, but I'll genuinely be surprised if we win the Champions League. The Prem, I think, is actually quite tangible. I think the Champions League, I actually think it might, to a degree, from a tactical point of view, favor Arteta a bit more because these managers are overthinkers. But I just think with the champs, you get into the knockout stages, you kind of play it by ear. They shocked me with beating Real Madrid. Everyone wants to say it was a Real Madrid team out of sorts. That's great. I hear that. I saw Rodrigo. I saw Valverde. I saw Jude Bellingham. I saw this one, that one. I saw Kibio for us. I saw Marino up front. So nobody can tell me nothing. But then when we went and played PSG now, obviously, I think in the first leg, we was probably still in party mode, didn't it? And they scored that goal. And I think I looked at the PSG game, over the 2 legs. I think it came second leg. It was more competence for me because, as you said, we started. Odegaard had that opportunity. I did feel towards the end of the game we're trying. PSG are just too competent. The first leg it highlighted depth in it because Marino was doing his thing up front. You had to move him into midfield. Rice was doing his thing in the 8. You had to move him to the 6. The impact of Thomas Partey not being there, we felt it. We looked like a team that was missing people. So I do think a lot of things need to go right for you in either competition. But I don't know. If we don't win the Prem, I don't know because I don't know because I think it's there. And I think not to discredit City, Liverpool, this one, that one. Just look at ourselves, man. If we can just defeat ourselves of last season, we're laughing. And with that, my last question before I let you get out of here, Luke. I saved this to the end. Big up KJ. He's always part of the channel, but he's a Liverpool fan. DG, ask him if he thinks Liverpool are dead in brackets out of the race completely. So obviously he's referring to the title. Do you think it's done for Liverpool retaining that?
I mean, if you would have asked me 24 hours ago, I probably would have said they're definitely not out of it. However, the news about Isak probably means that I know people are going to say, what do you mean by that? He's not had a successful start to it. But for me, they have to go and probably go into the window. I don't know if they can get the menu. I don't think they are because I think they are too good of a side not to. I mean, Florian Wirtz, I think, is such a talent. I just don't think they found the right position, which is very hard to do.
There's a lot of square pegs and round holes currently in that side.
And that's the main thing with Liverpool. And it's a weird one because I look at the recruitment and I thought to break up a title winning midfield, you must know what you want to do. I think they've really underestimated not having Trent because of Salah, because Trent's creativity and the way
that relationship down that right.
It was just phenomenal. And that's sometimes you don't even need to look. It's telepathic and he's gone. Obviously, they've got the Salah situation behind the scenes. We don't know we think it's cleared, but you never know. But as a footballing team, they are very, very good. And there will be a time this season that they will click. And they may be 7 points, but they may be growing. There may be murmurs of could they push towards the end? However, they might look at the Champions League as a better place.
That's what I was saying. I think this makes them more favourites for the champs. I think they're already in that weird space. And I know mathematically they could probably do it. But I think already Liverpool in that space you don't want to be. And we've been in it. We've been stung by this a couple of times in that you need to be perfect. But you're reliant on other teams now. I know it's hypocritical, but you need City to drop points. You are going to be looking at them with every win, loss, and draw. You are looking at us. You are looking at Aston Villa and things. And you're right. In the market, Liverpool hindsight's a wonderful thing. We're all saying they're not resting on their laurels. They're building on the quality. Too much change in it. Too much change, not enough solutions. The right-hand side's not sorted. The left-hand side's not sorted. Defensive aspects need to be improved. Don't think they signed enough defenders. I can see why they wanted someone like Zubimendi, missing a 6. Couple of players are falling off a cliff naturally. It's just all don't think it's one single reason for Liverpool, isn't it? It's like a cocktail of ingredients.
And then the thing I also think is that we're 10 points clear from now. We've got to play them in the 8th of January. So we've got 4 or 5 Premier League games. So that's the thing. If I look at that and I go, if Arsenal beat them, then as it would be, it could be 13 points. I don't in my head foresee Arsenal losing 5 games from a Liverpool perspective, unfortunately. So that is that. However, I can't lie. I think they are an incredible outfit, and that would probably, like you said, put them in a really good position for the Champions League, because this is the thing, and this is probably why I probably shouldn't say it, but with Arsenal, it's the pedigree, the European feel to it. A night at
Anfield in Europe like that, over United and Liverpool, Madrid, and that.
A night at Anfield, second leg quarter final, you just feel it. You know, we still need to do that. We need to write more chapters in that story when it comes to the Emirates. That Real Madrid thing is a perfect thing for us, but we need to now go and maintain it. You know, the Bayern Munich thing in the group stage for us, for me, was a great statement.
Yeah, we've only got a handful of those kind of
We've
things.
only got a handful
20 odd years in the stadium.
Exactly, but we want to be like a notorious thing like that. You go, oh, God, I'll go to Anfield in the second leg of the Champions League. I say that now in the Premier League, I'll go to Anfield. You're thinking, oh, I think they can get something, but that's what football does. Different competitions, it feels different. So that's why I think probably not actually when it comes to the title race. Thinking about it now, they'll still be. I still think they'll definitely come top three.
They can still salvage something, but it's reliant on Slot and these boys to simply get some consistency going. And the second half of the season is going to say different things. You know, the penny might drop for their new recruits. The penny might drop for our new recruits. Yeah. And I always say, yeah, from August, I'm just trying to get to December, whenever it technically is, to game week 10, because I think from game week 10 onwards, that's now where the season starts. So if we assumed you start the 10 game mark, it's like 16, 17 games. So that's 6 or 7 games being played. Now it's time to box clever. Now this is where every manager earns their money. The only team that I could say is ruled out of anything in the Premier League is Wolves. At the end of the day, you got 2 points in December. You're gone in it. Miracles do happen in life. It could happen, but I think you lot are gone. I don't think top 4 has been decided. I don't think the Prem's been decided. I don't think Europe's been decided. You know, even a couple of teams that started blisteringly well, they've had wobbles at this season. Yeah. Villa being one, Bournemouth being another, Sunderland actually as well. So we're just going to have to play it by ear, man, and see what's going on.
And by the way, I did say Liverpool, they're top 3, and I know Aston Villa fans will probably look and go, has he forgotten about us? I haven't. I just think their priority, I think the lure of Europe and winning the Europa League will be very significant. And I think if they do that and finish in the top 4, they'll be more than happy. It'll be an exceptional season. I think the worry, you know, if there's a team that you have to be concerned about a little bit, would be Chelsea. Not as an Arsenal fan, I'm talking as a Chelsea fan. I would be a little bit concerned with the words from Maresca and the fact that since they played against us, and there was talk about really
so inconsistent.
They are, and there was a young squad, and they need experience, and you know that's the thing. And when I look at this team, I think it's we are very experienced, and I think
that is one thing Liverpool players do have. That they might be out of sorts, but they've been there, done it with the T-shirt.
And I think Chelsea is struggling with that, you know, to combat with the Champions League as well as the Premier League. So yeah, look, football's beautiful, man. It can be brutal. You just don't know. But one thing I've spoke about at length this season is how you can answer it yourself. Is the Premier League stronger? Is it weaker? Because you look at the fact that Liverpool have had, you know, inverted commas, a terrible campaign in their eyes, because obviously they are retaining champions and they've lost, you know, 6 games this season, but they are 3 points clear of Manchester United. And we heard that Ruben Amorim was trying to turn the tide.
And United were ahead of them a few weeks ago.
You know, and then you look at the fact that Spurs and Newcastle are 2 teams competing in the Champions League, and they are currently mid-table. I think Newcastle fans will be surprised about that. And like you said, I think last week, even before we played Everton, I think they won before the Chelsea game. They won the 3 on the bounce, and then they beat Man United, they beat Bournemouth, they beat Forest 3-0, which was a really comprehensive result. And all of a sudden, they were 5th in the league. So that's the beauty of the Premier League, because I think we learned a lesson against Wolves. I actually do.
Not even just Wolves, it's definitely got stronger, because I've hated this topic. Yeah, it's like. People said it with Liverpool last year, exactly what you said. Obviously, we didn't win the league, but people used to say, "Oh, Arsenal only up there because everybody else is poor." I hear that, but what do you want these teams to do, for one? And for two, you look at where Arsenal have stumbled. Of course, I think we could have done better at home to City in the first half. I think the second half against Anfield, with Liverpool, Arteta could have went for it a bit more. But away from that, the games that have kind of been a bit ooming and ahhing, Sunderland, on paper, they just got promoted. Like, that should be a walk in the park. Wolves had 2 points going into the game. That should be walk in the park. One of the toughest games we've ever had this season. You know, Villa, bit inconsistent, hit a good moment now. We should have probably got something from that game. It's the games on paper where you're a bit bullish and whatnot is issues. Like, even the Everton game, we were talking about, I know we should be winning and they ain't got these players, but 1 win in 7, it happened, didn't it? So the Premier League's never been more competitive than it has been. And, you know, you look back at like 04 and stuff, I'm sure Jose, Wenger, Sir Alex Ferguson, these men could look at certain teams and say, lads, before a ball's been kicked, go and win that. You can't do that now, full stop. Every game is a cup final, as cliche as it is, and we've seen that. So what are we talking about? And every team now has a manager that's certified in their own right. All right, people might not like Amorim in it, but he's seen as one of these new age systemic managers. Arteta, we know about his thing. Yeah, and you've got the Areolas and these kind of ones in the Brighton gaffer. You've got all these kind of ones in the league. So it's nonsense. It's tosh. It's nostalgic nonsense. And I'm the biggest nostalgic merchant, but it don't make sense to man, bro.
Football's a manager's game. football's a manager's game. It's always has been, and it will be more. If you've got the right manager and you've got the right fundamentals and you've got the right application to do what you want to do, you can change a team. And that's why I look at Iraola when he was your first at Bournemouth. They wanted him out. I looked at Glasner. He struggled. You know, another one. But when these managers,
the Bournemouth guy lost bare of his players, he's still on stuff.
And when you get your backline decimated by big teams in Europe, you can even put Kepa in there for us because we took their goalie and he was very good. I know he was on loan at Chelsea, but you know, when these managers get their time to breathe their identities and philosophies, they can be very successful. And I think as a manager now, it's so important more than ever. You know, and you've got to be innovative, you've got to be tactical, and you've got to be able to adapt. That's the most important thing now. I think you have to adapt. And if you can't, I mean, you even have to look at Leeds. You know, like Daniel Farke. You know, I saw a comment in there in the chat. I think it's dark for West Ham. I completely agree. I think they just suffer from a lack of quality. But I look at Daniel Farke and how he's adapted to go to a more of a back five approach, and he's got the best out of Calvert-Lewin, and they've got energy and they've got rhythm in midfield.
And they were talking about sacking him a few weeks ago, and the games of paper on paper for Leeds, people said, "Oh yeah, doomsday. Bookies probably wouldn't pay out too much."
Well, they wanted him
that.
Yeah, they wanted him to go
competitive.
Yeah. And you look at the performance against Manchester City, and you look at the performance against Liverpool and
Chelsea as well.
Yeah, they were outstanding in all three of those games, even in the second half against City. And then you follow it up by, you know, the draw against Brentford, which some League fans were probably disappointed at. But then look at the way they responded on Saturday night. I think they're a very good
against Crystal Palace, which big up Glasner. You expect Palace to mop them. They slaughtered them.
And that's the thing. If you're not on your game in the Premier League at any time, you can get a nasty surprise. And I think City have even had this season. They've lost 4 games. You know, people think like City are not invincible or unbeatable. They've lost 4 games.
Even against Fulham, like they're fortunate to win. There's not too many times you can see 3-4 in the Premier League and win a game.
5-1 up at half an hour to go, and they've scored 4 at home, and they haven't won the game. And you can talk about that's what the Premier League is all about. That is the beauty of football. But hopefully, we would never be in that situation because we are very good at the back. But control can go out the window very quickly, and it's how you regress it and you have retain it back. We could talk about this for years, bro. I tell you, but we're in a good place, man. We're in a good. It's Christmas. It's Christmas joy. We're top again, but this time it will be different. And yeah, I think there'll be a little. We won't be just top of the tree. We'll be top come May.
Fingers, toes, everything crossed, man. Luke, this has been fantastic. We got to do this more often. We've been trying. People, you lot won't know, but our schedule just
have a lot. We're so busy all the time.
Yeah, it's just never correlated. But you've more than delivered, man. Where can people find you as well?
The Instagram is Luke Henry 98, and then the Twitter is, well, the X as they call it now is Luke at, I don't know, I've got to keep up with the time. It's Luke at Henry_1, I think it is, or something like that. You'll find me. It's all loads of Arsenal stuff, nothing else. So yeah, you'll find me. But yeah, Instagram Luke Henry 98.
Everything's going in the description, man. And, you know, if you don't see stuff that he does on TalkSport, you can obviously see what he posts on his Instagram. He does great stuff on Sky. I think it's the Fanatics app or something like that. Yeah, wherever that is. Yeah, I watch it all the time. Like, I don't know when the schedules are, but I've always got Sky Sports on. And
I found out last night. I was doing it this morning. But
there you have it.
It's a good opportunity, man. And also it's just, you know, I take those things quite seriously because what we're trying to do is we're trying to represent the fan base. You know, you do great work. When you do,
you just need your YouTube channel now.
I need time for that, bro. Honestly, man.
You don't, man. You just start it.
You need to tell me how to do it, and then I'll
just create an account. If you've got 5 minutes, I don't know, on this random day, like how you've been here with man. All it takes is 10 minutes recording on your phone or whatever. Post it, bang. The next one, do the same thing. You can run it at your own pace. Obviously, consistency is key, but don't overthink it, man. And when you actually got things to say, you know, you'll always be welcome on my platform, and it's always a pleasure. But you're doing yourself a disservice not having a central hub, man. You really are, man.
No, I appreciate that, man. I
appreciate you, man. I know you got to go at 3, so I'm going to wrap this up here. But Luke, round of applause for Luke, people. Smash the like button, subscribe, following on his socials. We got to do this again, man. Hopefully, the next time we do it, things are still cushy where Arsenal's concerned. Big up the chat as well.
Nah, big up the chat. Yeah, and when we do it, man, we'll still be top. We'll be top. We'll be talking about who we're getting in the Champions League and how we're looking ahead to the semi-final at the second leg of the Carabao Cup when we've beaten Chelsea 2-0 away at the Bridge. We'll be fine, man. It's Christmas. We're in Christmas spirits. We're in good mood. So yeah.
May the Christmas spirits continue. Obviously, big up Luke, big up the chat. And on that note, people, we're out. In a bit, Luke, man. One love.
Take care, bro. Thank you very much, man.
Come on. Safe.